Hello, everybody, and welcome to ORL, the Mobius Pro League, as it is also known as well. I am Gareth Davis, as you can see, just underneath my face, and I'm joined by Joanna as well for the second time this season. We first did, I believe, Silverstone 3 weeks ago. I could be wrong on the date there, but I'm thrilled to be back in the Tier 1 seat alongside Joanna. Joanna, Saudi Arabia today, it's going to be a busy one, I think.
Hi Gareth, hi everyone at home. Welcome to Jeddah. It's a circuit quite recent in F1 history, but of course, plenty to talk about, and of course, the race for sure will be interesting. I think it was 4 weeks ago since we had the Italian Australian Abu Dhabi since Silverstone, but then again, still. It was a great race, and I'm sure tonight will be again. Always nice to have you on board on Tier 1, Gareth.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. We are getting the lobby is on its countdown, so we're dropping down. There's 19 drivers tonight. One, I believe, is missing out, but
No, we'll join.
but we'll join through. But Jeddah the Jeddah Corniche circuit, 27 corners. It's one of the longest on the track as well, on the calendar. This track, and it's just pure adrenaline here. I don't think yet I've had a poor league race to commentate over, and I don't think tonight is going to be the one that kicks it off. But it's quite an interesting setup. That's what's happening at the moment. I am going to see if I can get the. No, that's not the right thumbnail. The calendar up. We've got Brazil next week, and then after that, I believe it is Singapore as well. So it's going to be a full on calendar towards the end of the for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, of course, in real life we finish in Abu Dhabi, but those two have been through the end of the calendar. If you think about the 2021 season, of course, in the other order with Brazil before Saudi Arabia. But then again, two tracks that for sure will bring us loads of action. Quite different. Brazil is way shorter than Saudi Arabia, especially if you go on corner numbers counting. So almost the double, I think, on this one, and plenty of walls on this one. I'm not sure which is worse, the grass or the walls, but the walls are unforgiving. So I'd say this one will be the one where they'll definitely have to be at their utmost to avoid any very, very not expensive mistakes.
Yeah, well, expensive, not expensive mistakes is
No,
possibly
not
the best
expensive.
way to describe it, really, when it comes to the league racing side
Costly.
of things.
Sorry, I was missing the word.
But look, this is the standings as it is at the moment. Danny Berezne is leading the way in the Alfa Romeo. It's looking very, very solid for him, but Kanakinci as well, close behind in the Alpine. And there is a nice little image here, if it pops up, with is a driver comparison between the two. 11 points, sorry, separating the two. 2 wins separating the two of them as well. But Kanakinci's nearly there on podiums. But Danny Berezne, overall, looking very, very good.
Very good, as you mentioned, and putting one hand on the trophy if he wins today. But of course, Chenakinchi has been, although the numbers are clearly in Berezne's favor, uh, Chen has been a true contender for the win since the first race. So I'm sure he'll want to show what he's capable of again tonight.
So let us head on board with someone. Let's go on to track. I think it's the bogs. I say the bog start. It's the normal way here in
Full
at
qualifying.
Jeddah. People like to go on intermediate tyres to just save a set, don't they? It's I don't. It's not cheating, but it's a it's a what is it? A loophole, so they can save some tyres and still rubber the track up, which gets them the faster lap time a little bit later on in there as well. I think we've got a couple of new drivers this week, haven't we? We've got Pearson Nick, which I believe is his first time here in ORL in on a tier 1. Is it the same as? I thought there was someone else as well, but I could be very, very wrong.
Just let me check. I think from the ones in, he's the only. Oh, no, and Varga bottomed, of course. Also doing the first race, at least this season, both of them, and I don't think they raced last season either. Both doing their first races here with us. Let's see what they can show us. But for now, it's Samuel being the first one starting a lap.
Yeah, well, there's a few of those drivers in there on the intermediates. I don't think anyone that's gone out on track and a set of
Bogdan
soft.
Moldovan.
Bogdan has. That's good eyes. Everyone else though sitting off it for the time being. It's looking like it's really difficult for these guys to hold that car on the track. It's so wide through some of these corners for Samuel Bean. Is that correct? I've always just murdered his name there.
What did you call him? Sorry.
Samuel Bean.
He's Samuel Bean, I think. I mean, Bean is. Oh. It's an English word, isn't it? So you can't get it right. Wrong. Sorry. Samuel. It's quite international, so he has that to his favor.
Well, he's trying to keep the car on within the walls at the moment. He's not that is so off the track there through turns 22 to 24 there. It's so difficult to keep intermediates on a dry track around here, and the worry for these guys is that they might end up crashing out on the set of intermediates, which ruins their qualifying, and then boom, they're going to start at the back of the grid without actually having, with 2 more qualifying sessions to go after this. It's a risk they're seeming to willing to take at the moment.
Well, to be honest, they can have that risk both on intermediates and on softs. If you go to Bogdan Moldovan, at the moment he has invalidated in his lap, and I'll tell you, he has been really, really close, if not touching the wall, at least 2 or 3 times this lap.
And that's something that, to get the fastest fastest time here is you've got to be brave, you've got to be bold and get to as close to the walls as possible, but also got to be wary of everything else, the corner cutting, and also the walls taking a wheel off your car at worst, and being out of qualifying. But we've got Jerry Van Brussel on track. Let's see what he can do. He is on a set of medium compound tyres, so another one taking a little bit of an extreme out of this qualifying session at the moment, but maybe not the extremes of the intermediates, just to set a lap time. But Daniel there setting 8/10 quicker than Lillian.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll see the real difference in pace at this stage. They just want to do a decent lap and be calm enough, knowing that they'll proceed to the next session. We've seen in previous races some of the faster drivers just retiring from Q1 a bit earlier. Let's see if they do it this time around, or if they'll need to put the time at the end.
Yeah, it will be, the faster lap times here, where we're probably looking at a 1:30, 1:31 for, no, what am I talking about? Qualifying lap time. I'm not 100% sure what I think these guys will be doing off the top of my head, but they will be doing relatively quicker lap times than the 32 that is set on the intermediates at the moment. But Jerry looking like he's holding pretty strong at the moment as he's coming through the swift. It's more of a snaky part of the track, and before you get to turns 22 and 23, 24, where it's quite tight again, and down through this back straight he goes, which consists of 2 corners. 26 is more similar to Brazil, just that banking as soon as you get up into the start finish straight, and then the tight turn 27, and then down the start finish straight to set his lap time. And he's not actually going to set his lap time. He has jumped into the pits. Who else could be starting a lap time? Is Varga Botond, I think, maybe setting a lap time. And Joanna, this circuit, I mean, we spoke before about Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen crashing here or coming together with a brake check maybe. But in league racing, it can also happen as well, because that DRS detection zone just before turn 27, people want that DRS to go down the start-finish straight.
Yeah, and on the last game it was after the corner. This one is before. I think honestly it's a bit safer this way, because it would be really odd to see the guys just losing time at the exit of a corner. In this way, they just can choose different lines to break, and I think in the overall it's a bit safer. Hopefully not too many mind games going on. We just want to see them going full throttle at it. I would just like to say hi to everyone on the chat, and of course Misa Dukic asking about Nukrus 51. Misa, he will be racing, but in tier B. So this is tier A of ORL. Nukrus, the Scottish man, will not be racing in this lobby.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, I think if you're used to my voices, you're used to seeing the B tier here. So yeah, I do apologise. You're getting the tier 1 action on YouTube today, or on this action anyway, and hopefully New Cruz does well back there, as Varga Paton's obviously from the B tier as well. He's just about to set a lap time, crossing the line. It's a 28-1 as a provisional lap for him. PSR Nick is coming across the line now, 27.5. So a big jump in pace there between those two. I think Jack Dan is also on a lap. Let's see what he can do as he comes through this final bit. And I think also Stefano Ramazio is on a lap as well. So a few drivers now setting some soft times. And Joanna, I think we're going to see, I think, a little bit of a surprise maybe with how some of these drivers, how their pace is.
Of course, being a bit of a longer track than some of the ones that we've had previously, it leaves less margin in time for drivers to correct their mistakes. You have to, if you invalidate a lap, which often just, well, it can invalidate, especially on the first sector, but then again, most of the invalidation ends up with damage, so you have to go back to the pits, and that will cost you a lot of time. And maybe a qualifying position. But so far we had Jack Dan jumping up to P2. Interesting to see the Williams driver up there. Well, the only Williams driver that already has put the time on the board, since Jakub Rzeszut, the Polish man, haven't yet put a time on the board. And we have quite a few drivers as well. I think on the end of their attempts, especially Christoph Zeller, keeping it close to the wall on the left and jumping to P3. 127.7, we have two drivers on the same 10th of a second, and then PSR Nick so far clear in the lead. Yeah,
it's very, very close times between Jack Dan and Zeller there. There goes Felipe Souza into P4 with a 28.165. Varga Patan did a 28.1 as well. Jakub then putting a 28.0. So the times are coming in a little bit quicker now. Let's see what Ismail Fassi can do, the Mercedes driver, coming through the second sector. Now I think it's looking very, very tidy from the Mercedes driver, and obviously another one with an abundance of potential when it comes to league racing.
Well, talking about achieve potential, we have Dani Berezny on his first attempt, the Alfa Romeo driver, still in the first sector. Let's see how he will fare comparing to PSR Nick's time.
Ismail Fassi put himself P2 just behind PSR Nick, so PSR Nick is doing a wonderful job at the moment with his time, but Dani Berezny then, as you mentioned, he's coming through, I think that's turn 13 now, and down through into 14, and definitely bags of potential. It's Dani Berezny. He's been there, and he's got the t-shirt, I'm sure, when it comes down to esports level, and he's showing us his stuff right now in Q1 of the OOL Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and this is going to be very, very interesting to see how Dani Berezny can hold his championship lead at the moment.
Yeah, interesting to see some yellow flags ahead, but I'm sure none will interfere on his lap. Final corner, full throttle, DRS open and keeping it to the left, making the less distance possible until the finish line, and 1:27.367, top of the leaderboard by 1.5 tenths.
Yeah, cracking that from Danny Beresne. We've got two drivers on the same time in third and fourth, Ismail Fassi and Jeffrey Ritchie.
No.
Oh, no. So close, so close. Very similar. I just saw the 5 and the 0 and I thought, wow, same time.
You have three drivers with the 5 and the 0, if you notice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. That is very, very close times. And we've got a little bit of lull in qualifying because everyone seemed to go out all at once there. I don't actually... Is Fernandez? No, Fernandez is coming into the pits as well. So this is interesting stuff. We're getting a few drivers, Kanakinchi and Jeffrey Ritchie, deciding that their lap time is enough for Q1. And I think that cutoff could be a 27.8, I think, could be where people know that they're safe for Q1.
I think it's quite close for Shan with Track Evolution, but then again, he'll know his stuff probably better than we do. It's quite normal to see this effect, Garrett. When you have such a complicated track where even if you're not in a lap, where you put the car can be in the way of the one who is doing a hot lap. So the drivers just try to stay in sync between each other to avoid being in each other's way.
Yeah, that's something that they don't want to do, is fall over each other when we're on track. And right now, it looks like Lillian is the only driver, as the Red Bull teammate of Jerry is popping out as well. So they've got the track to themselves a little bit, but it could be problematic when they actually start their lap time, because everybody else might be coming out of the pits and be a little bit of a roadblock to them.
Especially for Lillian. I mean, even if they're not road blocking, they're in your field of vision, so they're blocking your full focus. You're trying to just see the line you have to do, but you have all these cars, and you hope they will not interfere on the lap. But then again, what if they do?
Yeah, and you could, if when it's in field of view, it's not necessarily their fault. It's more your fault for letting them distract you. So it'll be interesting for the Red Bull driver, see how they can handle the pressure. I don't think there's going to be too much in the way for the time being. Hopefully they'll have a good lap time and get themselves out, because at the moment it's only the intermediate lap time on the board for them, and it's a 1:33, so pretty certain that's going to go into the early 1:28s to the late 27s. Do you think there, Joanna?
I honestly have no idea. This can go so many different ways, and you have quite a few drivers really close to each other just ahead of him. So let's see if he manages to escape that traffic, because I think he'll have to pass at least some of them before the end of the lap.
Yeah, I think you could very well be right, as Lillian going through nice and tight to the apex of these and to the walls as well, which is exactly what you need to do. The exit there of 23 and 24 looking very smooth for the Red Bull driver as it comes down this back straight. The DRS is wide open, but there is a car, and he nearly clips the back end of an Alfa Romeo. That's how close it gets. Lillian hoping for a really good time here. Samuel Bean on a lap time in P5 as well, but for the Red Bull driver it is P9 for the time being. Relatively good time, but is it going to be enough to see him through? Time will tell. His teammate then, let's see what he can do.
Let's see what he can do in the meantime. Samuel Bean is losing time, but he is quite comfortable in P5, I'd say. So let's see. And then we have yellow flags. I think it was the Red Bull.
Yeah, it was Jerry pulling out of his lap, so that is he's not got much time to get back around, and I don't think being in 13th is a good place to be. Who could be finishing a lap time is Oscar Villacampa, or I think he's towards the start of the track, so
I'd say Daniel Kilton. Improving half a second.
There we go. Let's go and see what Daniel Kilson can do. Round the last corner. And across the line for the Alpha Tauri driver, currently P16, up into P6.
Jack then going back to the pit lane, not improving his time, we invalidated his attempt. And then we have Bogdan Moldovan closing the lap up to P8. So Chen was right.
Yep, Chan is perfectly fine with that. Felipe Souza then P6. Nardi Perez does not improve on the lap time overall, but Stefano Ramazio does, and the Haas of Oscar Villacampa does as well. What about the other Alfa Romeo across the line? It's only a 28.3, and
it wasn't validated. So
okay, I couldn't see it, so beat me to his lap time there. Jacob. Then around the final corner, has he validated, or is he going to be able to improve from 16th place? Across the line, it's non-improvement for him. So Samuel Bean, then, let's see what he can do into the last corner. This Aston Martin driver, can he... Well, does he want to improve? I think he's happy in P5, surely. It'll just be into the pits for the Aston Martin driver. No, he will try and set a faster lap time, and he doesn't. So that is Q1 over and done with.
He just threw this set of tires to the trash, because the bot will be doing laps, going back to the pit lane, and of course, that is not ideal, I'd say.
Definitely not, unless he went out on his original set of soft tires he did the lap on. That could work in his favour there. But Danny Beresne, PSR Nick and Ismail Fassi are your top three for Q1. And the drivers that are being knocked out are Jacob Rezot, Javier Fernandez, Nardi Perez, Jerry Van Bussel, and
Codorningolo.
Yep, I'll let you say that for the remainder of the stream. Thank you very much. That is Q1 over and done with. We're getting very close to Q2, and pretty standard from what we know at the moment from Danny Beresne, just doing exactly what he needs to do to continue. Really, he's just such a solid driver here, so it's great to see.
For sure. I was just getting some intel on Tier B at the moment. They're still in qualifying session. Sorry about that. They're in short qualifying, but they're still in qualifying with Nick Cruz, as he was mentioning in the commentary. He's P3 at the moment, with the other Scottish Lewis in P1. So good luck for all of our drivers in Tier B. But for now, focusing on Tier A, and of course all the drivers then again in sync, wanting to go out for their first attempt.
Yeah, it's we will go back to the race screen, as I think it's Varga Botton that's going through it, and for some reason my game sound has disappeared. There we go, that does it. Pressing the escape button always works. Do you think Danny Beresne is going to risk just doing one lap here, one qualifying to save a set of tyres? Do you think he's that confident?
I mean, he's the last one at the moment on track, so I'd say for sure he will try to go for the one attempt to save tires. Bless you. But I'd say that he will try, but if he's not safe, he'll just go out again. But considering the times from the first attempt, I'd say he might just pull it off in one attempt.
We'll definitely wait and see. Apologies, for some reason my nose is making me sneeze a few times, but and thank you Joanna as well. Oscar Villacampa then is, I don't know who's the first driver to come through, because they're all heading into turn 27 and it's very, very tight down there. But let's go on board with Samuel Bean as I get a little bit of stream time for him today. Definitely the Aston Martin driver. Let's see if they can improve. A lot of drivers, well, still 5 drivers yet to decide to set a lap time, and that's Felipe Souza, Stefano, Pearson, Nick, Bogdan and Jack Dan as well. So are these guys leaving it a little bit later for the track evolution to help them a little bit more, or are they just thinking that they can do one lap and get them through into Q3?
Or maybe just trying to go for the 2 attempts closer to the end of the session. They still have time for 2 attempts, I think, if they were to leave in the next few minutes. You can go for 3. Not sure if you can go for 3 in qualifying too, but I'm sure that none of them will, unless they really have no choice. Even in Q1, you see they first come on track with the greens, exactly to save tires. So I mean, this second qualifying session is the one that changed the most from last game, because they used to have to start the race on the tires they used in this session, and that does not apply anymore. So bit of a difference in mentality, of course, when you can just go full send in every single oh, what happened?
I am no longer part of the session, apparently.
Me neither, and that's the scary part.
Well then, let's I'm still in the lobby, so that's the start.
That's not good.
Oh
that's
dear.
Not good.
This is exactly not what we want.
Yeah.
So bear with us, guys, while we try and get ourselves back into this and try and get something sorted. And let's move to a screen that's not so problematic. Let's get to us, and while we try and get something sorted here for the remainder of qualifying and everything, and let you, Joanna, try and sort that out as well from an OOL point of view as well. We will continue just to, obviously Q2 was underway and there was some, barely any lap times happening. Samuel Bean decided to go into the pits after his one, and we never really got a chance to see what the other drivers were capable of at the time. But obviously Danny Beresne is the one to beat. But Pearson Nick, first race in OOL, doing a very, very good job from what we saw in Q1 at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, and it's very, very strong showing from him. But I'm trying to waffle on, but I'm not 100% sure how much more I can do. We'll just have a look at the chat as well.
We'll just restart the logo with short quality, unfortunately.
Not ideal, unfortunately, not ideal, but we'll get ourselves sorted very, very shortly. And while everything does pop off, what we'll do is we'll start the starting soon screen again and give Joanna a little bit of time to prepare. But thank you so far, and do apologise for those that are watching. We will be back very, very shortly. welcome back, everybody, and we do apologise about that. We are EA Codemasters. That's the reason. But we've got ourselves back ready for this one. We're going to do a short qualifying and then straight into the race from that to try and make sure this one is done and dusted. Joanna, from what we saw from the first parts of Q1, it looks like it should be a Danny Berezne show, but these short qualifying always a little bit different. Always starts, it's like a one shot, but you've got it's a weird way to describe it. It's like a one shot, but you get multiple one shots out of it. I think that's the only way I can describe it. But you don't have
a second chance if you put it on a wall.
And well, these guys are getting themselves ready on track at the moment, and I will just quickly show the standings one last time, or the driver comparison anyway, at least, and that is between Can Akinci and Danny Berezne. The 11-point gap between the two of them. Danny definitely wants a good result here tonight to set him in a good way. And, I mean, from your perspective, do you think Danny can be beaten tonight, Joanna?
Well, no man is invincible. So Danny has had his moments on the last two seasons, and he's really strong on this one. And I hope if anything happens to him, it's not a Canada style of issue. But then again, it's there for Chen and for Fassi to try to steal the win from him. Let's see what they can give us tonight. Of course, it's a 17 minutes shootout. We don't have intermediate tires on track this time around.
No intermediates. These guys are getting straight out on it, and I think Bogdan Moldovan is possibly the first driver to set will set a lap time, and he's on turn 13. Followed closely by an Alpine as well. And this is the other thing about the short qualifying is there is more chance of other drivers tripping over, or you tripping over other drivers on a lap, because it's a little bit more of a cluster of cars. Even though we saw drivers go out on track at similar times in Q1, this again, you don't have that second chance of a qualifying 2 or a qualifying 3. So I think that could be where some of these drivers have their issues tonight.
That's an excellent point. When you go for Q1, you usually have 5-6 drivers that don't go for that last chance because they're safe into Q2. And then when you go for pole, you only have 10 cars on track maximum. This time you have 20 cars fighting for one position. Most of them will probably do 3 runs. One starting right now, of course. Another one around the 10-minute mark, or maybe 9, 8 perhaps, and then the last possible moment going for a third attempt, and they know that they will have to take care of traffic. They will have to take care of so many things that can go wrong. If there is a yellow flag ahead of them, that might be the end of the chance for them, especially on the last one, of course. But 20 drivers on track. And for those 5 that were out on the first qualifying session, this is their second shot.
Definitely, they've got a little bit of a chance to redeem themselves a little bit. I believe Bogdan had a McLaren, but very possibly, I think, PSR Nick, just at the start of his lap coming out of the pits, that could have caused him a little bit of unsettling as he comes through. Not that saying PSR Nick was unduly responsible for anything there. It's just, as we've mentioned throughout, all it takes is a little something small just to take your full concentration off, and it could cost you a couple of tenths, which could cost you a position on track. But here is Bogdan then as he comes through turn 27 for the first time of this qualifying session. What can he set a lap time? It looks like the Alpine behind was very, very quick through that. And across the line, it's a 1:28 dead for the time being, but a 27.1 for Christoph there, really opening the eyes of some of those people. Let's see what Jeffrey Ritchie can do. I think Danny Berezne is just about to start a lap time as well, so it'll be perfect timing to drop off and watch him as soon as Jeffrey Ritchie has finished his lap time, as he takes to the streets of the Jeddah Corniche circuit. And at the moment, Varga Botan putting a 27.6. I suppose we're going to see a little bit quicker lap times through here because of the way the short qualifying set up as well.
Yeah, it's 18 minutes of, I believe, Q3 kind of grip. So it should be interesting. For now, we have times just dropping. Of course, we have Jakob Rossesso finishing his attempt to go P5. So the two Williams on the top 5 at the moment, and we have plenty. Well, we have I think it's Codorningolo, right? No, he has invalidated his attempt, so he will not be the next one on the board. It will be Jeffrey Ritchie, who is closely followed by Danny Beresne, and I'm not sure if Beresne is not just going for a tow down the main straight.
It could very well be. That's not a bad idea for Danny Beresne, to be perfectly honest. Here comes Jeffrey Ritchie across the line. It's P2 for the time being. A very, very solid time there for the Ferrari man. Here is Danny Beresne into turn 1. Let's see what sort of trouble he'll get from the Ferrari. If he does, nothing at all. Nice and easy, letting the Alfa Romeo through. Exactly what you would like to see. Lillian, and I think Lillian is the only other driver on track as well. So setting a lap time as someone else has just gone up was Lillian into P4, actually, the Red Bull driver. So a nice little time there. And again, something that we saw early doors in the Q1 was a lot of times were quite clumped together. There was groups of drivers very, very similar in times. And we seem to have got that again here in the short qualifying format.
Yeah. Danny Beresne with quite a few moments on this first lap, managing to keep it together. And now he has his teammate getting out of the way for him, down into one of the most, I think this is the most trickiest part of the lap. At least for me, when I'm trying to drive it. It's absolutely insane the way you have to throw the car, but just not too much so you don't invalidate the attempt. I think it's one of the most, of course, the end of the first sector is also very challenging. But as I was saying, we have Danny Beresne closing up on his first attempt, and it's a 1:27.0. Less than 1:10 separating him from Christoph Zell. Interesting, though.
With a few moments early on in that lap as well, he still managed to get pole, but Kanakinchi there in the pits there. Sorry, I was meant to go on board with Villacampa. As he comes through his lap, one of the late starters to this qualifying. PSR Nick must have thrown himself into the pits, put on a fresh tyre as well, as has Xavier Fernandez, because they were both out on track a minute ago, but they're back. Well, one's back doing an outlap and the other's in the pits. Samuel Bean is also one of those drivers that went out just to maybe get himself used to the track again, but we'll wait and see what Oscar Villacampa can do, as very close to the walls in a lot of these parts of the track.
So, as you mentioned, Javier Fernandez back into the pits, who is also on a hot lap at the moment, is Ismael Fassi, one of our top contenders, just out of turn 13 and into this back part of the circuit, if I may say. So let's see what both him and Oscar Villacampa can do.
Yeah, Oscar Villacampa across the line. He is going to produce a 1:27.4, so a very, very solid lap time from him. Let's watch Ismael Fassi then as he comes through this final sector of the race, and very close to the walls he needs to be to get anywhere close to Danny Beresne's time. He is the benchmarker right now, and the Mercedes driver, a little bit of back end wiggle there as he comes through turn 27, but across the line for Ismael Fassi, and it's pole position for the time being.
Very, very nice lap from the Spaniard. His attempt just blinking purple in every second, at least the map did. Of course, then again, Codemasters. We are not sure if that's real or not, but then really close to Danny Beresne's time. And with track evolution, I'd say those laps were pretty much the same.
Yeah, it's not much difference at all. PSR Nick on a lap, as well as his teammate Felipe Souza. this time, and I did get the pronunciation correct for that once. I think I saw you nodding your head, so that's the nod ahead of approval. Still got some work to do, but Nick then into turns, well, just about to go into this turn 22, 23, 24 as the front end. Or it might have been a bit of lag there. It's so difficult. You've got to throw yourself in, and you mentioned earlier throwing yourself in at this track, and these guys have to do it consistently for what 25 laps of the race, but also in this qualifying, it's quite daunting, really.
Well, daunting is when you know you only have 18 minutes and you invalidate your second attempt, as Christoph Sella just did. Straight into the pit lane, knowing that he has one more shot at improving this time.
Yeah, 8 minutes of qualifying remaining. PSR Nick throws himself into P3 for the time being. A very, very, very solid lap time for the McLaren driver. His teammate coming through just past, well, this snaky bit here, and got a little bit of a back end. I'm not sure if it's just the state of the game at the moment, but it does seem like sometimes the back ends just wobble a little bit more on the PC than they used to. But through 22, very, very wide, and I think he could be invalidated at turn 23 there.
Who?
Felipe in the McLaren.
Yeah, he's invalidated. I was on board with Stefano Ramazio, who is now getting right out of the last corner, a bit of a wobble, as you mentioned. Then again, I think it's just the general style around this track, to be honest, and crossing the line to go ahead of his teammate.
Another very solid lap time there. Kanakinchi, I think, is on a lap as he comes through. Is that just through turns 22 and 23? I think it was. As he's coming through there is an Alfa Romeo just ahead of him that he wants to get out of the way, and he's had to take a little bit of evasive action to the right-hand side. That could be a little bit of a frustration for him, and he's pulled over to the left to go into the pits, and that maybe it did unsettle his lap time, seeing that Alfa Romeo...
That was Danny Beresny starting his lap.
Oh, was it?
It was. Because Cadorningolo is already in the second sector.
The title rivals have an incident, not anything major, but it's moved over from the race to qualifying. So maybe Kanakinchi can be a little bit aggrieved with that. We'll have to wait and see what the stewards agree of that. But Danny Beresne's teammate, currently in 20th, not yet a set lap time. I have struggled with saying his name numerous times.
I'll say it for you, don't worry.
I just want to say something completely that's not there, but he's popping into the pits anyway. Who could be setting a lap time? Is it Javier Fernandez? It is indeed. He's just about to start one. I don't know. Maybe it's his teammate as well. Villa Campo's just about to cross the line. Is he just about to set a lap time? No, he's just about to start one as well. Ismail Fassi?
I think he'll be starting a lap. Yeah, he'll be starting a lap. Right behind the two Red Bulls, we have Danny Beresny taking almost 3/10 of his time.
Let's see what Danny Beresny can do. The rear wing is open across the line, and it is a solid 0.4 of a second quicker than his past lap time, but 0.3 of a second quicker than Ismail Fassi.
Well, they were quite close before, so let's see what Ismail Fassi, who invalidates. Ismail Fassi invalidates his lap, so it will not be an immediate answer from the Mercedes driver.
Not ideal for Ismail Fassi, and maybe that's just ramping the pressure up on Ismail Fassi a little bit. Yellow flags constantly. I don't know how long of qualifying left, but I'm on board with the Alpine of Christoph as Samuel Bean throws himself P2 for the time being. So the times are tumbling at the moment. But what can Christoph do as he rounds the final corner down the start-finish straight? The rear wing will open to give him that extra bit of pace, and it's P3 for the time being for the Alpine man. Who else could be on a lap time? Villacampa could very well be going into the pits, so he won't be. Is Jerry is on it. Jerry Van Bussel.
No, I think he will start another one. He's not using any battery at the moment.
So,
He did
Felipe
not
Sousa.
invalidate, but maybe just opting to go again.
So
And
we'll
he
see
will
what.
have a free track. Oh no, he's going to the pits.
Yeah, fresh tyres is probably the thing right now. Danny Bresnay, Christoph are probably going into the pits this lap, as well as Samuel Bean.
Felipe Sousa.
Felipe
On a hot lap.
Sousa into the final corner now. The McLaren driver then, what can he do? And I mean, he's yet to set a lap time right now. So a little bit of added pressure to the McLaren driver, but across the line, can he throw himself into the top 10? It's even better. It's P6, just behind his teammate.
Yeah, interesting to see the two McLarens so well matched. Let's see if this is something they can take into the race, as well as the two Ferraris a bit further down the order, in the middle of the two AlphaTauris. So a bit of a team alignment going on at the moment, because you also have the two Haas and the two Williams.
Oh yeah, definitely. The two Ferraris as well. The teams seem to be quite close together at the moment. Some of them anyway. Danny
Except for
Barretta.
Alfa Romeo, which is the sandwich of the whole grid.
Yeah. The Alfa Romeo sandwich that we've got going on right now. Hopefully, Danny Bereznay's teammate can pull himself out of that bottom space soon. But Nardi Perez currently on 27.9. 1.2 seconds behind Danny Bereznay, is on an outlap. The Mercedes driver, his teammate currently P4 is Ismail Fassi. There's a lot of drivers coming now out on a lap. 2 minutes 14 seconds remaining. I don't think Felipe Sousa is going to set another lap time. I think that's it, isn't it? That's his qualifying
2
done.
minutes to go, unless the field is blinking. So I'd say it's probably over for the Brazilian. And while we have plenty of drivers just going out, and I think Nardi Perez will be the first going on for his last attempt.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on Nardi Perez, who currently in P18, going wide into the entry of turn 27, but that will give him a better straight line speed as he comes down the back the start-finish straight, and into turn 1. And he's going to want to be able to hop over the curbs without cutting too much to get himself nice and set for the remainder of this Sector 1 and into, well, the remainder of the track. And he's clipped the wall. That is not ideal. That is how dangerous this track can be. And all it takes is one little moment, a little bit too early on the turn, and that's what he's done there. And his qualifying is ruined because he's got no front left end plate there, and that is going to cost him dearly. Who could be one to watch?
I just want to comment that this should be interesting because we have Danny Bereznay leaving it to the last possible moment to start his lap, but he has two drivers behind him that want to start a lap as well. So this should be interesting because they're leaving it to the last possible moment. And one of them is Christoph Zello, who is also a pole position contender.
That is very, very last minute stuff. And if one of them makes a mistake through all this as well, it could cost the rest of that group. So that could definitely be one to continue an eye out. And I will go on board with that in a moment. But Jack Dan currently on a lap time in P14 currently. He's going to want to be higher than that, unfortunately, it's Jack. He ever since that Q1 incident, not incident, but got through Q1 quite easily. But then the rest of it, he just hasn't seen the same pace as he had before. But it could be because everyone else has turned up the base a little bit, I suppose you could say. There goes Kanakinchi into P5 for the time being, a 27.070. But that's only enough for P5 at the moment. PSR Nick has retired as well, and Jack Dan gone into the pits. Who else could we go on board with? Through the final corner is Jerry Van Bussel as he comes down the start-finish straight into, and he has not increased on his lap time. Where is Danny Berezny's still got a little
Jeffrey
bit of
up to P6 and Ismail Fassi finishing the lap. At this moment, it's not enough for Paul. 1:26.837, just short of Danny's time.
So Samuel Bean and Christoph
Has
are the...
invalidated. Sorry. Bean has invalidated.
Oh, has he? Okay. So Danny Berezny is coming down the start-finish straight for the last time. Will he improve even further? He does. It's only just.
And Zelly does not beat his time. I think this is it. Only, yeah, Daniel has invalidated. Daniel Kilson has invalidated. So end of qualifying session.
There we go. There you have it. That's a very strong qualifying performance yet again from Danny Berezny. Kanakinci couldn't get up as high as he would have wanted or has done in the past, but P5 for him. His teammate Christoph just ahead of him, and looking at someone at PSR Nick who looked quite strong, only managing P7, not able to set another lap time after a poor final run. Not sure what happened to him, and that is, I'm just looking down, Bogdan Moldovan is the last man there in P20. Nadi Perez, P19 there. Danny Berezny's teammate, though, did manage to get himself up into 13th.
Yeah, Codorningolo up to P13. Quite a few Spaniards tonight on our grid, with Ismail Fassi, Samuel Bean in second and third, and then P11, P13, and P14 for my neighbors, if I may say. So let's see what they can do in the race. This was, of course, an improvement from Codorningolo, considering that he was last for quite a bit. So let's see what he can show us in the race. Hopefully, they will be able to go till the end of the race, because I'm sure that if they make it till the end, they'll get a decent result.
Yeah, there's some great positionings for a lot of those drivers, and obviously Danny Berezny's leading the way there, but he's got a few drivers behind him that can cause him problems throughout, and you know, I was expecting a little bit more from possibly Ismail Fassi and Kanakinci, maybe seeing all three of, well, linked with Danny Berezny, of course, but at the top of that, but obviously some other names in there. Samuel Bean being one, doing an incredible lap time, and he should be, well, possibly a bit frustrated, unable to do anything early doors. But just quickly from you, Joanna, who do you think is going to win this race?
Well, I'd have to go with the poleman if I was going to bet, but interesting to see a few different strategies, with Danny Berezny being the only one on the mediums.
Interesting there, but we are underway here in OOL, straight down the start-finish straight, and Ismail Fassi into P2 there, holding station, just behind.
Oh, there's chaos. That's Jeffrey Ritchie spun out of turn 2.
Oh, and he's left the session as well. He is not happy with that. There's still side-by-side action all the way through turns 4, 5, 6 and 7 for Bogdan Moldovan with Jack Dan, and he's got the position just for the time being. But just ahead, Oscar Villacampe managing to still go side-by-side with the Alfa Romeo of Codorningolo there, and the Red Bull going up the inside in 13th. At turn 13 as well. This is really, really close racing, and we've not seen anything from the front yet. These guys battling away side by side, but Oscar Villacampa holding the position ahead at the time being, but struggling for the Alfa Romeo because the Red Bull of Jerry Van Bussel trying to get through as well.
Yeah, and we have the two Williams almost side by side now. Jack letting Jacob Rosset get the position for the auto. Not trying to do it side by side. I'd say that's an optimal choice. And really, really tight back down the order. Of course, Danny Berezny trying to take the best of those mediums and try to get in a gap already on Ismail Fassi before the DRS. Yeah,
Danny Berezny. I think maybe Danny's thinking of maybe a safety car as well, possibly, because that is something that can happen here, and the hards can go a little bit longer. He just wants to of, oh, look at how close the Alfa Romeo and the Williams get, and Jack Dan side by side through turn 2 with his teammate yet again, Jacob. But yeah, Cod or Ningolo, there we go, it's kind of right, really putting his elbows out and causing the Williams a little bit of harm. Let's go back up to a little bit of a higher position. Samuel Bean battling away with PSR Nick, who's managed to get himself up into P5 ahead of Kanakinchi.
Interesting to see. Let's see. Kanakinchi knows he needs to pass these guys, but he knows that's still plenty of race to go. No need to make a foolish attempt to just gain a position. He has to think about the long game. Maybe an undercut might just give him the positions that he needs. But so far, interesting to see the battles going on all around at the moment with every car in the 1 second gap to the car ahead except for Ismail Fassi.
Yeah, Ismail Fassi 1.6 behind Danny Berezne at the moment, and Danny Berezne trying to use those tyres to the advantage like you quite rightly mentioned a few moments ago, and Danny Berezne is definitely going to get fastest lap of the race yet again on this one. As a 1:31 for the time being, but looking at PSR Nick getting very close to the back end of the Aston Martin, and just behind in the background there, the Red Bull going up the inside of Varga Botan, but just a little bit far off. But Oscar Villacampa trying to get through as well. This is the close battling in this midfield pack is really great to watch.
Of course, I started the lab thinking about Varga being close to Stefano Ramazio, and then you had Jerry Van Bussel and Oscar Villacampa side by side down the main straight. So you never know where the overtake will occur, considering that you have such small margins, and just different uses of battery might be enough for a change of position. Oscar almost losing the rear of the car out of turn 13. Right behind Jerry Van Bussel, but manages to grab it just at the last moment, and now it's the Red Bull. He collides against the wall, keeps it pointing in the right direction, but loses position to Oscar Villacampa, and I'm not sure if he doesn't have any damage.
I can't see anything on that Red Bull that's caused damage, but it could be, and he's hit the wall again, and the Red Bulls are not... this particular Red Bull is not having the greatest of races, and I wonder if there is front wing damage there. From the camera angle, I think there could well be, but I'm so far away. That is not ideal for Jerry Van Bussel at all, but down the back straight, look how close Christoph gets to the back end of Ismail Fassi, but it's just not enough at the moment. Kanakinchi can't get close to PSR Nick either, and right now Danny Berezne must be rubbing his hands. Well, not specifically right now, because hopefully his hands are on the wheel, but he must be thinking this is going his way right at this present moment in time. Joanna, I think I've lost your audio.
Oh, sorry. My bad. As I was saying, it's a shame to lose Jerry Van Bussel in this race so soon, considering that so many things can still happen, but his choice, I guess. Let's keep up with the ones on track, still all of them in the 1 second gap to the car ahead. So plenty of opportunities, and this battle between Christoph Zelle and Ismail Fassi might just be what Daniel Berezne needs.
Could very well be. It's 3.3 seconds at the moment. The only other thing Danny has got to worry about is if he pits. Well, he will pit before all these guys pits as well. He's going to be out in traffic, which could cost him a little bit of extra time. So he might want to, I don't know whether he wants to wait a little bit or not, but look at the action that is going to happen on track. Christoph is Ismail Fassi and PSR Nick and Samuel Bean as they come down the start-finish straight. Is there going to be enough for either of these drivers to make a move? If anything, I think it's going to be PSR Nick. He's getting very, very close, but the DRS has assisted massively for Samuel Bean, and they are so, so close together, these four. You could probably not separate them with a piece of paper.
Another swap between the two Williams drivers. Oh, and there's contact from Jacob in the back, in the rear of Jack then, but thankfully both keep up pointing to the right direction. Just a bit of crucial time lost to Codor Ningolo ahead.
Not ideal when teammates hit hit each other at all. But there's Villacampa picking up a 3-second time penalty, the first 3-second time penalty of the race. And I'm going to go on board, actually, with PSR Nick as he comes through this middle sector, because he's looking very, very quick in comparison to Samuel Bean ahead. But I'm not sure if that is because Samuel Bean's being held up by Christoph ahead.
Sorry. It cut. I didn't get. Sorry.
That's no problem. Just talking about PSR Nick and his pace at the moment, looking very quick.
Sorry.
But Samuel Bean, I'm not sure if he's being held up by Christoph ahead.
Well, to be honest, Christoph is quite close to Ismail Fassi, so if he's being held on by anyone, it's by Ismail Fassi. While Daniel Beresny keeps dropping fast lap after fastest lap, so all looking good into the Alfa Romeo's direction at this moment, and almost colliding Nick and Samuel, but thankfully manages to keep it clean. And again, there's that penalty and gap on Oscar Villacampa that might just hurt the guys behind them to the rest of the pack. But at this moment, it looks like it's a bit a one race of one Danny Beresny and another one for the other 17 cars.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an odd one for Danny Beresny right now. He's just got to keep focused and keep pulling that gap behind, or otherwise, if he becomes a little bit complacent, it might cost him the race win. Varga Batan then on his debut in Tier 1, getting very close to the back end of Stefano Ramazio, but he wasn't able to make the move stick and had to stick behind for the time being, with Oscar Villacampa trying to close that gap down ahead, which he has done. But there is maybe a gap forming between 7th and 8th right now, because that is looking very, very... There's a big gap there. And I think... where is...
Oh, dive. Oh, what a dive from Daniel Kilson. Chenekinchi managing to cross the other way and regain the position, but they still way together. And of course, lots of battery being discharged at this moment. Another dive from Daniel Kilson. And no space on the outside for Chenekinchi. He tries to go the other way around, but this time the AlphaTauri is in the middle of the track, so no chance. And you have Daniel Kilson gaining the position on Chenekinchi. This might just be the cause of that gap that you were mentioning to just disappear.
Yeah, this is Chenekinchi not wanting that move to happen, but he has. And the gap between PSR Nick and Daniel Kledson opening, but I think there's some more ERS being used, which has helped him to come a little bit further up. Ismail Fassi is 6 seconds now behind Danny Beresny on lap 7 of 25. We've lost Jerry Van Bussel from an incident into turn 27, and Jeffrey Ritchie having an incident at lap 1 as well, which is reason for him being 17 seconds behind. But let's see this battle for the leaders of the second train we've got going on, which is Ismail Fassi, Christoph, Samuel Bean and PSR Nick. But PSR Nick's dropped off a little bit, and these three drivers is very, very close from Christoph, but Samuel Bean's trying to go around the outside of 27. He hasn't got the greatest straight line speed, and I think that's cost Christoph the move onto Ismail Fassi as he comes down the start-finish straight, and I don't think anyone's going to go side by side down there. They will not. They think better of it, which has allowed PSR Nick back into the action. And very, very close. Oh, PSR Nick and Samuel Bean have come together at the exit of turn 2. Did you see more of what I saw of that?
I don't think so, but right now you have Samuel Bean down to P14. I'm pretty sure he will not be happy.
No, PSR Nick with no front, with no damage to his front wing, I should say. So I don't know what happened, because it was the camera angle given to us was just the aftermath of what happened, and that has left a big, big gap between Christoph and Daniel in P3 and 4 respectively there. So the podium, I don't want to say is sealed, but it's as long as Ismail Fassi and Christoph do what they need to do, they're in a good place. But I think there's a yellow flag as well. And that looks
Nadi
like
Perez.
Nadi Perez.
Yeah, he was pointing the wrong direction out of turn 13. Back pointing the correct way, no safety car needed. We are back racing full green all over the track, and we have that gap. I know Danny will be on slower tires. Interesting to see from Ismail Fassi. Are they working together to try and go to catch Danny Beresne? Using one DRS to let one pass and then returning the favor.
It does look like it, but overall, Christoph does look like he has a little bit of extra pace. Pearson Nick managing to get past Javier Fernandez as well, and further back, I think Lillian getting past Stefano Ramazio as well. So some more overtakes happening now, and yeah, so possibly Christoph and Ismail Fassi are working together, but Daniel Kledson is closing on that, so they can't use that for too long, or otherwise they will possibly get themselves caught out.
Yeah, let's see. For now, Daniel Kilson still in the DRS margin. Let's see if he manages to keep this quite close to Ismail Fassi so he doesn't lose it. But I'm sure that Fassi will... Oh, this is not good for Ismail Fassi. 3-second time penalty for the Mercedes Spanish driver. Well, they are both Mercedes Spanish drivers, but you know what I mean. Unfortunate for him, and this might cost him just a few positions.
Definitely. Well, I would say it definitely will cost him a few positions with how everyone else is going on. He's trying to get back at Christoph now as he comes down through turn 26 into 27. He'll have the DRS as they pop down the start-finish straight for the 10th and into the 11th time. And will he have enough to do it? He's fully deploying the ERS. He's got him this time, surely, up the inside. And that should be move done for Ismail Fassi. Just behind the Red Bull of Lillian is under pressure from Javier Fernandez, but they're not enough at the moment. But this has worked kind of in Chanakinchi's favour, because he's now back into P5 and not too many points lost to Danny Burrell, not as many as it was before when he was down in P8.
Well, before really with Ismail Fassi time penalty, if you think about it. But I'm sure that Chanakinchi will try. He'll just go along at this stage, making sure that he uses just enough battery so that when he pits, he refuels, regains the battery without losing any. You know what I mean? So the amount of battery that he has wasted is bigger than the amount of battery that he will gain in the pit lane. So there is no waste of battery. But for the rest, I think he'll just go on this DRS train for now, and then on the medium tires, it's action time.
Yeah, Daniel Kledson then back into DRS of the guys ahead, but Christoph and Ismail swapping positions yet again. But I don't think this is working as well as they thought it would, because they're 8.5 seconds behind Danny Beresne. Here comes Ismail Fassi back up the inside, but is he going to have the straight line speed over the Alpine? He only just does, and it's very, very strong there. Javier Fernandez popping into the pits on lap 10. I wonder if he's picked up damage, if that's why he's coming to the pits this early. Doesn't look like a front wing change, so he just wants a set of mediums now. So interesting strategy call from the Haas team there. And Stefano Ramazio has nearly dropped out of DRS of Lillian just ahead because of that. So that's going to be an interesting one. And Varga Paton then getting a 3-second time penalty, the third driver to get a time penalty tonight. And it's all very strategic right now, and something that I've come across a few times now. It's a boxing match come with chess, because you've got to throw the punches, but you've also got to be strategic about it at the same time. That's something that I've used in the past for commentary. I'm not sure if you necessarily agree with that one, Joanna.
Well, I'll tell you what I agree with. This stop by Javier Fernandez is perfect for Danny Beresne, and he wishes that all the drivers would respond to that, because that way he would not have to go out on traffic.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point. Definitely. There's nothing else really. I mean, Christoph maybe trying to get back at Ismail Fassi into turn one. Is it going to happen? No, he thinks better of it. I'm starting to think there could be a few drivers that are being a little bit tentative into turn one to make overtakes.
Yeah, no point in risking it all and just gain a post-race penalty, is there? So just keeping it clean, safe. There's still plenty of race, plenty of mistakes to be made by your competitors. So let's not make a full risk unless you really have to. Well, if you must. Then again, the other Haas driver already pitting for mediums. I know they will go till the end, but I'm not sure if that's the best strategy, unless of course they're really not comfortable on the house and then just swap for mediums and go till the end. But yeah, Danny will say more, please.
Yeah, the more drivers that go on to the mediums now, the happier chance. Well, the happier he'll be because there'll be less drivers for him to overtake or get involved in possible incidents with. But Ismail Fassi is 9.2 seconds behind Danny Berezne. There is no sign of that time dropping either to Ismail Fassi's liking. But look in the background, Felipe Souza getting very, very close to Kanakinchi as well. This is going to be tight, I think. Oh, no, he's going into the pits. That's why he was so close as well. So drivers now popping into the pits. Danny Berezne's in the pits as well. This is a big moment.
Interesting to see the two Aston Martins. Let's see if they manage to keep their positions. But it seems like Jack Dan will take the best out of Moldovan up to P10. Samovin still trying to box Jack a bit to let his teammates by, but it was Jack who ultimately took the best and is now in the points paying positions.
Yeah, and picking up a penalty.
That.
Oh, curse of the commentator right there, Joanna. Curse of the commentator. But Danny Berezne's got Jakob just behind him on old hards, but he's out. Danny Berezne's right behind this battle that we were talking about. And I wonder how long he'll get caught up with them in this battle as Jack Dan getting passed by Bogdan on that moment. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. His tyres are going to be cold as Danny Berezne, but he knows he's got to get past these drivers sooner rather than later. He's still got an abundance of ERS to use as well. So I'm sure he's going to try and breeze past these guys into maybe 27. And that's Nadi Perez out of the race. Is that a yellow flag tyre?
And that's a full safety car for all the hard tires to go to mediums. Let's see where does this leave Danny Berezne? Because right now it's Felipe Souza right behind him with the mediums.
Wow. Everyone will pit. Danny Berezne's tyres are going to be rotten. Into the pits they go. We'll just stay on board with Danny Berezne as he comes down the start-finish straight. Maybe a little bit of controversy here in ORL with that retirement. Maybe Danny's going to be thinking, what have I...
Working. I'm not saying it is, but that's what he will be thinking, because one must say this. Just DNFs and gets a safety car out. The second that the gap... that Danny pits and all that gap that he had... made through the first stint, it's now gone.
That's the risk you take when you're the only driver going on the mediums at the start of this race. I'm sure he was not thinking that he was going to be the only driver that did that, but yeah, it's not ideal for Danny Berezne, but he should have a little bit of lice towards the end of the race with him, but I don't think he's going to be able to catch them up. I think this is a little bit of sitting duck time for Danny Berezne, and I don't know if he's ever been classed as that before.
The good thing for Danny Berezne is that Kanakinchi is done in P12.
That is a very, very good point, and the title fight will definitely go on into next week. And I'm just thinking, it's 11 points, so Danny Berezne just wants to finish ahead of Can, doesn't he? That's all he needs to do. I'm not sure where Ismail Fassi is in all of this either, so
I don't think he's too far, but I might just check. Just give me a moment.
So that's definitely the one. Why is Javier Fernandez swapping positions with Samuel Bean? I'm not 100% sure. But Samuel Bean is on a recovery drive now. He's into P10. PSR Nick having to double stack with... No, he didn't. Because Felipe Souza, went into the pits the lap before, didn't he? So PSR Nick didn't,
Souza
but Lillian
was
gets
fine.
past him. Huh?
Souza was fine.
Souza was
Yeah.
fine. Okay. Oh dear. I'm getting one of these days I'll not double guess myself. But yeah, Lillian into P6 has been quite a good run for him this second half of this. Well, the second half of the first half of the race. Confused that, didn't I?
Well, just to be clear, Fossey is 2 points behind Akinci. So still quite close to him. 115 points for Ismail Fassi. But he has that time penalty. Can you get by Dani Beresney and open a 3-second time penalty? A 3-second gap, sorry.
And not only that is, yeah, he's got to pull away from everyone else, and he was battling hard with Christoph and the other driver and Daniel as well, the other Daniel, I should say. So he might not get as many points as he would have thought if he didn't have that penalty. So that penalty could be huge for him come the end of this race, and we will have to wait and see. We're at 15 of 25. We will probably get racing away again on lap. Well, at the end of this lap into the start of next lap. So I think that's how Codemasters work it, but you never know these days.
True story. True story. Let's see what happens. Interesting to see if Christoph Zella will attack immediately Ismail Fassi or just let him try to attack Dani Beresnes first. Because he knows the other guy has the penalty. So it will be interesting to see, because if Christoph Zella immediately attacks Ismail Fassi, that might just help Dani Beresny not need to think about the penalty that Ismail Fassi has.
The safety car is in this lap. Let's go to the leaders. And, well, Dani Beresne has a lot of hard work on his shoulders. He's going to have 10 laps of trying to keep drivers on a much better conditioned tyre than he has, as we will just quickly... he's decided to go quite early as Dani Beresne. He's trying to catch everyone out. And I think, if anything, it's going to be Ismail Fassi that's in trouble out of all this. But I say that the incredible pace of the mediums has got Ismail Fassi back through this. He's trying his best. He's trying to switch back on Dani Beresne, but it's just not happening. But, oh, maybe it has. Out the exit of turn 2, Dani Beresne's going to lose the lead, surely, at this point, as they come into turn 4. But he doesn't. He's still putting his car in the place. But there, finally, Ismail Fassi takes the lead of this Grand Prix.
Let's see what Christoph Zella will do at this stage, because he's really close to Dani Beresny.
We've lost Stefano as well. I saw him tumble down the order, so that's not ideal. But Dani Beresny under incredible pressure from Christoph Zella. But it's just not happening for Zella at the moment. But Dani Beresny's going to have to drive the heart out of that Alfa Romeo if he wants some decent points tonight, because everyone else behind him looks incredibly quick. And he's, almost a second behind Ismail Fassi, within a sector of Ismail Fassi overtaking him.
Yeah, and we have, I'm pretty sure, some family member from Stefano saying, "Oh no, crash!" So the game crashed for Stefano Ramazzi. Really unfortunate. See the Ferrari driver just dropping down the order. He was doing a very decent race, and he is now in a bit more down the end. Of course, the bot has to stop his car, doesn't it?
Yeah, typical Codemasters that Codemasters bot that. But Dani Beresny got very close to the back end of Ismail Fassi into turn 1. But Ismail Fassi so much quicker through the rest of the sector 1 that I think it's going to cost Danny Berezne a huge here, as Christoph Seller are trying to get past the championship leader. And you know what? I think you mentioned about Danny Berezne's Canada curse, that what happened there. I think it was possibly before the stream started. And is there going to is it feels like a little bit of a curse for Danny today?
Well, at least it's a race thing and not a connection issue. Knock on wood, which I only have on the floor. But hopefully that will not happen tonight. It's quite different to finish P2 or P9. Or P1 at this moment, to be honest.
Yeah, he's still holding very, very good paces, Danny Berezne. He was pulling away from Ismail Fassi when the roles were reversed with these tyres. But with DRS soon to be open and usable here, there we go. There's the sign we were waiting for. Danny Berezne could very well become a sitting duck into a bit further back. I think Lilian is going to be under pressure from PSR Nick, but Nick pulls out of the move in the end, and there's a little bit of a gap forming between PSR Nick and Javier Fernandez in P8. So that is where the cutoff, I think, could be for the second train here. I say second train, it could very well be a third train if Ismail Fassi keeps up this pressure to pull away from Danny Berezne, and Christoph Seller can't make a move on Danny Berezne because, well, it just looks like Danny Berezne still got incredible pace on the harder compound tyre.
Well, that does not surprise me. Does it really surprise you that Danny Berezne has incredible pace at this stage? The man has been on the top of the field for so many years now. But yes, it's been interesting to see Christoph Seller and Danny Berezne battling. And even the usage of ERS has been interesting to see. With the top three, I'd say that just, well, you have to go out of top 5 to see more than 50% batteries at this stage, and that's, I think, says a lot.
Yeah, that definitely says a lot indeed. As we've got a move from Samuel Bean past Javier Fernandez and Varga Botan trying to get through as well around the outside. Surely not from the AlphaTauri. There's contact, and that has cost both him and Javier Fernandez a little bit of time. And here comes Kanakinchi, which is exactly what he wants, is to get himself back into the point scoring position. Up into P9 is the championship rival of Danny Berezne, and that's some points there. Oscar Villacampa picking up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane and then retiring. Danny Berezne still in P2. And now caught back up with Ismail Fassi. This is cracking stuff from him. Here comes PSR Nick on Lilian as well, but there's nothing doing at this stage. He's very, very quick in the first sector as PSR Nick, but he just doesn't have the straight line speed, and there's continual yellow flag. Is that Oscar Villacampa's car, I think? It could very well be. But back to the leaders, sorry. Danny Berezne is back within that second of Ismail Fassi. And do you think that could be a chance for him to get back into the lead of this Grand Prix?
Well, Danny's been pushing a lot to try and get that DRS, at least to defend from Christoph Seller. He knows Ismail ahead has a time penalty, so that's just enough for the win, at least on track. Of course, with some, I don't think either of them has been involved in anything reportable, but still, you never know. And at this moment, Danny's really closing the gap to Ismail Fassi. Of course, it's really difficult to get out of DRS range in this track, and of course, Fassi and Seller have better traction out of the corners with those mediums, at least for now. I think on the last 2 laps, it might just be a bit too cool. Oh, it looked like Danny was going down the inside of Ismail Fassi, but keeping P2 for now. Christoph Seller still really close to him as well, and Garrett just let me drop hi Rafa, hi Luis back in the chat, cheering me on, and I'm sure in a way cheering you on as well.
Yeah, hello to you guys as well. I know you don't know me, but hello. I thought I'd give you a hello as well, just because, let's be friendly. Danny Berezne then, 0.8 of a second behind Ismail Fassi. There's a yellow flag again, and I think that could be Javier Fernandez, who's dropped down the order back to P15. Varga Boton down into P10 as well, but it's that first sector where Ismail Fassi is really quick in comparison to Danny Berezne, and he can try and maybe break that DRS again. Maybe Ismail Fassi was saving a bit of ERS as well to use that in an attempt to get away from Danny Berezne, but it's all seeming to go back towards Danny Berezne from this second half. From turn 19 to 27, Danny does have some incredible pace. I'm just trying to think. Kanakinchi's just in a little bit of no man's land in P9 at the moment, ahead of Varga by a second, but behind Samuel Bean by a second as well. But down the back, the start-finish straight for the 20th into the 21st time, Danny Berezne, I don't think is going to have enough pace about him to get past Ismail Fassi on this lap.
Let's see. I honestly did not. This was foolish of me, but I did not expect Danny to close that gap after the DRS opened and he was out of it. I honestly expected. Oh, what happened?
No, it's. I'm in agreement with you. I don't. I'm so used to the softer tyres being able to pull away, and we saw how quick Danny Berezne pulled away from the harder compound tyres, and thought that would be the same, but it just wasn't. I maybe just forget who Danny Berezne was for a second, but I'm not sure how he could do that. But he is outside of a second again of Ismail Fassi. This could be problematic for him. No, he's not. He's back inside it. It's teetering. It's on the edge. Can Danny Berezne hold on? He's so much quicker though, from pretty much turn 17, and it allows him to get back within the DRS of Ismail Fassi.
I'm going to say something, and then I'm not sure if I'm not just going way out of line here, but it looks to me like Danny is actually trying to save some battery to go for the fastest.
Just behind.
Crazy, but...
Just behind. That is a very, very strong thing to say there, and if he is, then wow. Daniel Kledson then is getting close, and just behind. Look at, oh my goodness, there is people going everywhere. I think Lillian is getting past as well in the background, but Christoph Seller, no. Oh, there's contact into the wall. Is that going to be made? There's no damage, but he has lost the position, and that could allow Danny Berezne just to have a little bit of fresh, not to worry about what's happening behind, and just focus on Ismail Fassi in front.
I wouldn't just dismiss Daniel Kilson. I think we'll have a Danny battle in a bit. We still have time for that.
Danny v Danny. Well, let's say on lap 24, we will have Danny v Danny. But Pearson Nick all over the back of the Red Bull, maybe wanting to get a little bit of revenge from Lillian attacking his teammate just a few moments ago. It's looking very, very close for Pearson Nick. He's having a very strong recovery drive after an incident with Samuel Bean into turn 1, but we're not sure who was at fault for that one. But at the moment, it's Pearson Nick versus Lillian, and Danny Berezne is 0.8 of a second in front of the other Danny, and I think Christoph Seller is in trouble from Felipe Sousa just behind, and he has got the position made. Surely not. No, Christoph Seller side by side still down this start finish straight for the 23rd time, and this is going to be tight into turn 1. Just behind as well, Pearson Nick, the McLaren teammate, trying to find a way through as well. But McLaren versus Alpine into turn 1, and the McLaren wins, but a switchback is on for the Alpine, and they're side by side again through 2 and 3. And surely the position's got to be McLaren's into turn 4. There's a little bit of slight contact, and it is position for the McLaren man.
And let's see if the Red Bull of Lillian does not try to go and take that position, because they are under pressure from Nick if they don't. And I'm not sure, but I think that all this battle has at some point to help Chanakinchi get on touch with them.
Yeah, it's looking... I think there could be a little bit of a break-off maybe from... I don't know, maybe Christoph Seller could be... Maybe he's got a little bit of damage that we can't see because he is struggling through certain points of this track. And maybe there could be a break-off if he holds up enough. And that could, like you mentioned, Chanakinchi getting through and into a higher point-scoring position. But Ismail Fassi at the moment unable to pull away from Danny Berezne. And that 3 seconds that he needed is not there, and it could very well be... sorry, just going on board with Lillian as well, battling away with Christoph Seller, and he's holding station. At the moment is Christoph Seller, but it's not enough. But I think Danny Berezne could be trying to make a move on, surely not on this lap, not on the penultimate lap. He's got to wait one more lap, surely. But Christoph Seller, he must have damage because he's dropping down the order.
Yeah, for the race he was doing, for sure, it probably... but did you catch anything that might have given him damage?
I did see him, and I think it was Daniel Kledson coming together at the exit of 3, or the start, or through 3, so that could be. And since then, he has been dropping down the order a little bit, so it could be problematic there. But I've got to go on board with Danny Berezne because he has been hounding Ismail Fassi now. And while the tyres I think you want to be on at this stage in the race is definitely the mediums, he's making those hards work like a set of mediums for him right now, and it's really, really great to see from Danny Berezne, someone of his quality. People do say it can get a bit boring watching the same driver just pull away, but it's not had all his own way, but he's definitely working with what he's got, and he's doing it well.
He's doing it well, and he's saving so much battery for the last lap. Garrett, it's not even a shadow of a doubt. Oh, and Fassi giving DRS to Berezne.
Ooh. This is interesting. Down the start-finish straight for lap 24. Who's going to have the DRS? I don't know. Who? Both Mercedes and Alfa Romeo aren't opening it. Ismail Fassi, surely not. It's Daniel Kledson who goes around up the inside of turn 2. The Mercedes is trying to get in there as well, and there's contact, but it's Daniel Kledson that takes the lead of this race on the final lap. And Danny Berezne, the Danny Berezne fans are going to be heartbroken by that, but it's Daniel Kledson that takes the lead of this race. He's been waiting in the wings of all this. Felipe Sousa in P4 as well. But what a move, an opportunistic move from Daniel Kledson.
And there goes Danny's fastest lap, unless he manages to give it all until the start finish, and we will have one more drag race on this one. So let's see. We have Danny Berezne still really close, and using the battery to make sure that he will have one last opportunity to pass the AlphaTauri.
Here we go then, into turn 22. Danny Berezne all over the back of the other Alpha. It's Alpha versus Alpha. It's Danny versus Danny as they come through turn 24 into turn 25. How is this going to pan out? It's Danny Berezne. It's Berezne that takes the lead into turn 27. Is there going to be enough for it? I think it is. I think that is Danny Berezne's race. Don't count out Daniel Kledson just yet, though, as they come down the start-finish straight for the final time. It is Danny Berezne that takes victory here in ORL at Saudi Arabia. Felipe Sousa then into P3. What an end of a race we had there. And look at that. Ismail Fassi finishing behind Chana Kinchi, and a point-scoring haul for Danny Berezne that will be, well, over the moon with him. And he's going to be, well, I would think that he is sweating profusely right now after that race. But what a race. And the game's given Bogdan the driver of the day. But Joanna, I would like to hear who you think driver of the day would be.
Well, that's a difficult one because I don't like to choose a driver of the day that it's on the podium. I say we have to go with Lillian from P15 to P4. But then again, quite unfortunate races for Chana Kinchi and even for Danny Berezne. He won, but he was quite unfortunate to lose all that gap that he had. What do you think?
It's very, very difficult to choose on this one. Someone that springs to mind, obviously, Danny Berezne for taking victory with dealt a very harsh hand with the safety car. But Daniel Kledson as well from 9th to 1st. But Lillian, I think you're right with that because they were nowhere at the start. Not really great in qualifying, but towards the second half of that race, Lillian was incredible and really showed some great stuff. So I would agree with you that. I think Lilian is a good shout.
So there we have it. Lilian considered the driver of the day by ourselves, let's say it that way. And of course, a shout out to Ismail Fassi that given the safety car that went a bit his way, he did the best he could. Unfortunately, Chenikinchi wasn't able to fight with Dani Berezny a bit more and let Fassi just run away with it, because I'm sure that if those two had gone side by side, that Fassi would have opened up those 3 seconds.
Now, there's just a reminder on screen for the next track, which is a Brazilian Grand Prix here in ORL. But, well, there will be no interviews tonight, unfortunately, so we do apologise for that. But for the Jeddah Corniche circuit, what a race here. This has been incredible. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I love this circuit for street races. Joanna, final words from you, please.
Love commentating, hate racing it. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed the action we had on track. Thankfully, only one safety car, and what I'd say a controversial safety car that it was. But in the end, Dani Berezny, with one hand, I'd say, in the championship after this round.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being my co-commentator again for this one. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, Joanna. But for now, it'll be hopefully it'll be back to normal here in ORL for next week for the Brazilian Grand Prix. We hope you can watch it and see if Dani Berezny can finally claim the title, or can Chenikinchi or Ismail Fassi put another string in the title story. But for now, goodbye and thank you so much. There we go.